I request that the Senate adjourn in memory of Cary J. Rudman, Chief Ethics Counsel and Ombudsman for the Senate. Cary passed away suddenly last Saturday from complications associated with cancer. Members, he was 72 years old. Cary was a longtime member of our legislative family. He worked as chief counsel to then Speaker Willie Brown, and later in the same position for then Senate Pro Tem Don Parada. In addition to being the Senate's Ethics Counsel, Cary served as Chief of Staff to Senate Majority Leader Gloria Romero and to Chief Counsel to the Assembly Public Safety Committee. In his spare time, Cary was an avid golfer, sports fan, and reader. He had an excellent sense of humor, which he used to brighten the annual ethics training presentations for all of us senators, lobbyists, and staff that have taken. This included rap music and witty comments to capture his audience's attention. Cary was a serious student of the law and politics. He once penned a law review article titled, "Military Justice is the Justice System as Military Music is to Music." A critique of military law as compared to our civil justice system. In the early 2000s, Cary traveled back to Washington, D.C. with President Pro Tem Parada and met then U.S. Senator Barack Obama. He was starstruck and later said, "He had me at hello." It should be noted, however, that Cary was most proud of his family, his wife Trish, and his 3 sons, Nick, Willie, and Harris, also known as H-Rud, were his pride and joy. Cary would start every conversation with the latest news about Trish's work on smart growth, Nick's latest film project, Willie's work with the brand Nike, and H-Rud's latest rap lyric. Like most of us, Cary valued the importance of his family. There will be an intimate reception off the floor for family and close friends following this session. And members, I ask that the Senate adjourn in the memory of Cary, and I have with me as well an in memoriam of him as well that I'd like to present to his family, and that I'd like to thank you, members.
Thank you, Senator Hernandez. Senator Monning.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you to my colleague, Chair of the Health Committee and Chair of Ethics Committee, and had the honor of working with Mr. Rudman. I too served as Chair of the Ethics Committee and had the special opportunity to work with Cary not just in ethic trainings but in meetings in our office and reviewing sometimes tough situations or questions that had come up from members or about members. And as Dr. Hernandez said, Cary led with a sense of humor, a spirit that made tough situations easier. We know that you deal with a very tough loss, as we all do. I know I speak for all the members in offering our condolences. Cary Rudman's spirit will live with all of us who knew and loved him. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Monning. Pro Tem Emeritus Don Parada.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, there's a reason why I'm out of uniform today. I notice on the floor, I know we have ties, but Cary got me into this. One day he said, "How come you always have a tie on?" And he was an aficionado of T-shirts, black T-shirts. And so I thought, well, it's a lot cheaper than buying a shirt and tie. So I started wearing these, not on the floor, but in committee. And I even had lobbyists say, "Oh, thank God." As if, right? Yeah, okay, you need my permission to dress like you wanted to. But it was the quintessential Cary Rudman. In fact, when we were back in Washington and we met Obama, and Obama was just about ready to announce that he was going to run for president. And I remember we went in there and there were 8 or 9 of us, and we were all of the same color. Thank God we had a woman or two. And so Cary leaned over, and what President Obama said is, so you're from Oakland, right? I said, right. He says, so this is how you roll? And Cary leaned over and said, should I tell him I'm a Jew? And then he stopped for a second. He said, he probably thinks you're Filipino. His humor never stopped. And he had me at go when the first time I met him. And I've known him a long time in different capacities, but it was just an honor and a delight to have him work with me. In all the times that we worked together, I cannot remember him having a down moment. He was always up. He came in. He was smiling. He would never say a word about himself. When I read that he was 72, I asked Trish, is that really true? And he was. And I thought he was not a kid, but certainly younger than I was. But I realized, well, it was always about his family. It was always about what Trish and the kids were doing, the boys. And he was so proud. He could talk until the next season about the kids, but he couldn't talk another second about himself. And you don't find too many people, particularly in our business, that are that gracious of your time and theirs. I was surprised, frankly, that when I heard that he was ill, because usually bad news gets to you very, very fast. But again, it just underscores the privacy and the intense personalization he had for himself and family. And I'm going to miss him. I loved him dearly. I just urge all of us here to remember that these days go fast, and look around, and I would say give people a hug, but I'm not going to. But it is important that we respect and honor our affections for our friends and our colleagues. And I can't tell you enough about how special he was. And I will leave you with a couple things I remember most about him. Cary said, all those people that used to, I could relate to things because I was alive in the 80s. And he said, you remember when people said all that you needed to know you learned in kindergarten? He said, bullshit. Godfather. All you need to learn is in Godfather 1. And, who might argue with that? And then he also, he was saying one day when I had a very interesting term here, tenure as pro tem, and we had a lot of federal friends, and Cary came walking in one day, and he says, God, this is like being in The Sopranos. And you just play that back later, you'll get it. Anyway, Cary, I love you, and I'm very, very delighted that we are here honoring you. I just wish you were in the other room waiting for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Parada. And to the Rudman family, I think all of us on this floor can tell you that we appreciate greatly his sage advice to each and every one of us when we needed it. Members, at this time, if you're not standing, could you please stand, and we'll do a moment of silence for our friend.